Lorks a Lordy, it is the Tech Addicts Podcast. This week, Garmin goes solar, Japan are beaming solar energy, LG make a pointless screen type thing, Lenovo do an extreme tablet, and the Nothing phone lights the way. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast. I am Gareth, the host, and this is Ted, the co-host.
Hello everyone. Greetings from North Wales, where...
And from Northern Ireland.
You're from Northern Ireland and I'm from North Wales, and between us we seem to be getting all the weather that there is to get. Last night we were recording PSC, me and Steve and Yogesh, and it was just... it's worth listening to PSC just to hear it going on. It was just amazing. The loudest thunder I've ever heard, and lightning and deluge of rain, and it went on for about 45 minutes in the end, and it was absolutely drenched here. So I don't know if you got that. It was early evening here.
Oh, we the heavens opened at around 12 o'clock, and it just hammered it down for about 45 minutes. Then it stopped. Right. Well, actually, looking at it this morning, must have rained again, maybe about 4 or 5 o'clock or something, because everything was soaked again. I can't imagine it laid for that long, but yeah, it was amazing. It was quite a busy evening for weather.
Yeah. And today, the aftermath seems to be a bit muggy here, but there's lots of cloud cover, so it's not anywhere near as hot as yesterday. Yesterday was 27, and it's now about 19, which is just so much nicer. However, I still have got my fan on. Hopefully you can't hear that. Quiet, fan.
No, you're fine, I think. Well, at least I can't hear it. Maybe the listeners can. I can't. And that's all that matters.
Yes, indeed.
No, it's fairly muggy here too. It's sweaty and warm. I can't imagine what it's like in your caravan. I've got both the windows open here, and there's a bit of a through draft going on, but I'm still sticky.
Yeah. It's not pleasant at all. Anyway, the news the news of the fortnight, I'm hoping, is that you got your letterbox orientated widescreen super duper all singing all dancing monitor.
Well, yes, I had hinted at it on the last show. Yeah. I'll try to speak normal, and I, to be entirely honest, it's not one of these ultra wides that really takes the piss. It's a nice little 34-inch one, so it's moderately larger than what I had before. I had a 27-inch before, was a sort of standard monitor. I'm not sure what size it was. It's been a while since I bought it, but this one is an ultra wide curved one that just sits nicely in front of me. It's a good size. It's not overwhelming on the desk, but I will say one thing. It's got a massive stand that's far too big, and it takes up half the desk. The feet stick out. It's the MSI MPG Artemis 343CQR, which is an ultra-wide QHD curved display. So it does 4K, it's 165 Hertz, FreeSync, all that kind of stuff. HDR 400, which HDR isn't the best on it, but I think for the price bracket, it's strong in most areas, and for what I use it for, it's absolutely perfect. I don't do big sort of e-gaming or anything, or e-sports, or fast-paced first-person shooters anymore. I just relax and use computery type things, and it's lovely. It occupies a larger portion of my desk, so I'm having to redesign everything on my desk and put things over to the side, hard disks over there, and my work laptop over there, and sidelining this and sidelining that. So if I sound a wee bit different, it's because my microphone's in a different position, and I haven't quite worked it all out because I threw it in this morning at the last moment because I forgot to actually put it in when I was designing my desk earlier in the week when this arrived.
But I think, remembering back to the pictures that you showed of it to me, it's more letterboxy than mine. So I've got a 34-inch widescreen monitor. We discussed that previously. But I think yours is kind of not so tall, but wider. Letterbox,
yes.
Yeah. Which means that you don't break your neck looking up and down, only left and right.
It's a bit like a car, you know. The way I see it is, you should just be able to move your eyes and see the edges of the screen. A bit like your car, you should just be able to move your eyes and see your rearview mirror rather than turning your head.
Okay.
Or at least that's what the instructor always taught me.
Uh-huh.
That might have changed now, but whereas the ridiculously big ultra wides, I do feel that you would probably end up using your neck to turn. This is 1000R curved, which a lot of people just say that that's the sweet spot.
Okay.
But I still don't know what to do with my old monitor, and I'm kind of tempted to add it into the mix as well and put it above this monitor or something like that. But I've got a shelf up there. I'd have to get rid of the shelf, maybe wall mount it. The arm that I have. Oh, that was the thing. I have the arm thing. I can't remember the name for it, but instead of using the actual stand, using the arm, and I went to attach it to the back of this monitor, and the VESA mount, the VESA mount, VESA mount, the plastic around it is just too narrow for the actual plate to fit in. So the screws line up, but the plate that would screw onto it would not actually fit the monitor. So I can't use that monitor arm, so I have to use the stand at the moment until I either go out and shear a bit off the edges of the mount, which I suppose is a wee bit extreme, or somehow manage to maybe turn the mount around and perhaps mount the other screen on the shelf that's on the wall. Right, okay. Things worked out.
Hang it from the ceiling.
It's a wee bit high, but it would be nice to have, say, Outlook and things like that up on there. Not Outlook, but my email client up on there, and Audacity whilst recording and stuff. But it's all on this rather large curved display, and it looks fantastic. I love it.
Good. I'm very pleased for you.
Any new gadget with you?
No, I've come close, but resisted. When we get to Bargain Basement, you'll get an idea of what I came close to buy. But no, nothing particularly interesting and new, apart from phones. And we get told off if we talk too much about phones on Tech Addicts, don't we? So
that's right.
We better leave that alone. I've been having a bit of a Samsung week because I've got a PR loan of an S23, the baby one, and it's actually really nice. But yeah, I'll leave that for PSC.
Ah, right, okay. That's going to be interesting, yes. That's the FE, isn't it?
Oh, and I tell you what, no, the FE is not out yet. It's not even announced yet, but apparently it's coming. It's gone through all the kind of usual prelims, so we think it's going to be announced any day. But this is just the ordinary S23, the basic one.
Oh, right, okay.
And
okay. I thought it was a new, smaller version or something.
No. It's the one that came out last autumn. The other thing I've been thinking about more and more is buying trying to trade in my Nintendo Switch Lite for a Nintendo Switch. I think I would use it more if it was on the telly, and more so. I'll come to some more Nintendo stuff later on, but I can't seem to get shot of the Nintendo Lite, and the actual proper Nintendo is like about 250, 300 quid. So I'm kind of holding off on that. But yes, we'll come to gaming a bit later, won't we?
Yeah. The Lite is not one that you can get too much money for. My son hasn't touched his in about a year, and I thought, he asked if he could maybe flog it and buy himself some Robux. So, piss his money away, I suppose. But no, I think I'll just make him hold on to it so he's got something to play the array of games that he has now.
Yeah.
He's got about 10 games, and he wouldn't be able to use those.
No, not unless he got, like I'm proposing, an actual proper Switch.
But even then, once you've got a PC, it's difficult to justify having another gaming console.
Yeah. It's just that it would suit me better in the lounge. With the telly. And I just think I would use it more, because I get fed up with the whole handheld thing. And anyway, I'll continue to muse on that one and see if I'll find a second-hand one maybe.
Yeah, good call. All right, well, AJ Santos has written in about electric cars and how they're not so green and cheap and could actually cost more to run. And there's been various comments across the MeWe group about how the batteries are an environmental disaster waiting to happen, and they're likely to need replacing 2 to 3 times during the life of the car. Emissions caused by manufacturing process make it worse for the planet. Is hydrogen a better eco solution? It's heavy and needs a robust storage arrangement. And did we know that there are 20% of VAT on public charging, but only 5% at home? That's an interesting point, I think. And the general opinion is right away that it still needs an awful lot more work before we settle on the idea of electric cars being the new norm. Thankfully, I would say, I don't know how it is on the mainland. I've heard that there's been investigations into Tesco and the likes over their pump prices, but here diesel and petrol have dropped considerably. As a matter of fact, diesel is actually cheaper here than petrol. And for those who are listening to this right now, it's at my local filling station, it's about 136 for diesel, 139 for petrol. Not sure the mainland prices, because there's obviously some sort of investigation going on to see if the forecourts are profiteering out of this. But my local BP is pretty cheap, I do think. But yeah, I was watching a documentary about how Toyota are putting out they're developing a new hydrogen engine, and how hydrogen is going to be the way forward. And this new engine is even better again than electric engines, and gets a lot further on the hydrogen that they put in there, because there's 2 different types of hydrogen, and I'm not going to attempt to recall what they told me in that documentary, but that seems like a really exciting possibility going forward, where the car just tootles along and produces water vapor as opposed to anything else, and it uses more of a combustion style engine than the electric one. It doesn't use the batteries or anything like that, so hydrogen could be the better way to go at the moment. And I know James May, he went on about how hydrogen's going to be the best way forward, and I think he's got a hydrogen powered motorcycle that he uses, if memory serves. But that could be quite an exciting thing. Ted, what do you think?
But one of the person that mentioned hydrogen in our group said that it's heavy and needs robust storage arrangements. So I'm not quite sure what that means. The hydrogen it takes up a huge amount of space, presumably. So when you come to petrol stations, fuel stations, filling stations, they need to redo all their tanks and what have you, I suppose.
Well, I think that's one type of hydrogen. The other type of hydrogen, which is what Toyota is working toward, apparently it uses the same infrastructure that we currently have for fuel, so there's not that much in the way of changing needed at your forecourt. Maybe just wash out the big container under the ground, get rid of all that diesel malarkey that's in there, or petrol malarkey.
Right. I've no idea how much petrol is. I've got a moped, and I fill it up once every 4 years, and it does about 3,000 miles on a tank. So when I go to the petrol station, I kind of don't even look at the price. I think, well, it's got to be a bargain for me.
Flipping heck! It must have been the last time you filled it up was maybe about 85p or something like that.
Yes, in 1842. The thing about the moped though is that it's a 4-stroke engine, and that's unusual for mopeds. They're usually 2-stroke. But I think if it went tits up, I would definitely get an electric one. I don't know much about electric cars, but what I see, I gather about electric mopeds is that for pootling around the town, which is what I do mostly, not going very far, they're absolutely fine, and they'll be great and easy peasy. However, the point about AJ Santos's article was that he's linked to this article in the Mail, who also links out to the Sun, who are saying just what you said. Really, is that the needle has swung the other way. That it used to be cheaper, but because the price of electric is going up and up and up, and the price of petrol appears to be coming down a bit, then it's not so cheap and it's not so green, because it takes more fuel to get the electric, and the conundrum works the other way around. So I think that's what it's about.
Yeah, and some of the benefits of electric motors are now going away. The likes of, I think they have to pay road tax, and most of them are over, is it 40 grand or 50 grand, which means you get the expensive car tax.
Right.
Which is, if you buy a new one off the forecourt, you then have to pay a certain percentage to the government for purchasing it.
Absolutely.
More so than VAT.
Let's not get political, shall we?
But yes, it's an interesting point that if you charge it off a forecourt, then you get paid, or you get charged 20% VAT plus the higher rate that they are charging you because it's a business. Whereas if you charge it at home, it's 5% currently. So it's much better off if you charge it from home. But not everyone can do that, and that doesn't make much sense to... You imagine someone who lives in an apartment block or something that is forced to use a filling station or whatever to have to charge their car, and is just being, gouged. They can't have a plug running all the way down the stairs from the top of their 10th floor penthouse or whatever down to the parking garage, or even someone who lives in the centre of London in a big 3-bedroom or a 3-storey townhouse and has a 1 parking space outside their house if they're lucky, or way down the street, and they have to plug it in to charge. There's no option for those sorts of people, and it's really unfair that they can't benefit from the 5% energy at home.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So that seems like a bit wrong. Everyone should have a moped, I reckon. Forget about this car business. Abolish cars. Everyone has a moped.
Well, today that will be fine, but coming into Christmas, whenever you're on the moped, covered in snow, having to travel 30 miles to go to work, you'll be cursing Prime Minister Ted Salmon.
Fair enough.
With this new initiative. Okay, what did Mike Schwartz have to say?
Oh, he's found this new speaker. Well, I don't know if it's new to him, but he's a BBC sound engineer, Mike Schwartz is, and he's recommending the Audio Pro add-on C5A multi-room smart speaker. My ears pricked up because he was so enthusiastic about it. Never mind your Marshalls and your Sonoses, he says. This C5A from Audio Pro, which is a Swedish design, takes the prize for audio quality as far as he's concerned. And take my word for it, he says, as I'm a BBC sound engineer. It has internet radio, Bluetooth and Alexa built in, and they can be doubled up as a stereo pair with the app or just a mono multi-room setup. They have 4 preset buttons for your favourite radio stations and phono, and 3.5mm inputs, Wi-Fi or wired Ethernet. The speaker...
Ethernet, we'll go with that.
The speaker is actually stereo for the tweeters only. Position it nicely in the room, and the bass is unbelievable. The top end is crisp too. It's real hi-fi. The app and bass and treble controls... the app has bass and treble controls if you need them. Very highly recommended. And this one is only 164 quid. In Amazon UK. We'll put a link in the show notes to that. But yeah, it sounds like it's great. The thing that I was saying to Mike was that the reason I do go for Marshalls, one of the reasons is, apart from the sound, is because you get the old-fashioned knobs and dials and buttons and physical, tactile stuff. And on this one, like most of them, you don't. You just get kind of... I think it looks better than some of them, certainly, and it certainly looks really well made, and it looks like an interesting... Actually, it looks like a bit of an IKEA design, doesn't it?
No, it looks better than that. I really like the sort of the brushed stainless steel look of the buttons on the top. And there seems to be some sort of LED indicator, so you know exactly what it is you're dealing with. The speakers I have here, they just have an LED that changes colour, and I can never remember what colour is what, but you've got your Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, auxiliary and line in, and it'll clearly show which one you're actually on whenever you change your input.
Yep. So,
no, I think this looks pretty swish.
Very nice, and not bad price at all, for if it's that good, like Mike is saying.
Well, the white one is £164, a decent colour, to be honest. The grey and the black, the grey is £219, which is a bit of a shame, because that would be kind of nice. Yeah,
I quite like the white one, but we got so many choices. Bluetooth speakers are just so... There's so many of them out there now, and they're just more and more are being released all the time. So good for the consumer.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. That's good stuff. All right, moving on. Oh no, actually, I'm just thinking, I'm now worried about the quality of this podcast because we've got a BBC sound engineer listening to it, and with my rubbish editing skills my inability to keep the the sound quality at an all-time
and my fan going as well.
Oh, yeah, flipping heck. Sorry, Mike, for the atrocities that we're creating on the audio airwaves. It might just be your ears. If you clean them out, this might sound better. Yeah, go with that. Right, Garmin have unveiled a new solar-powered smartwatch, which would be really cool for people who are out running in the summer. Not so cool if you're out running in the winter, because it's going to have a harder time to charge, but it will be able to keep itself a wee bit more alive during the day, especially whenever they don't charge. My wife has a Garmin, or at least had a Garmin for a couple of years, and she used to swear and curse because it wouldn't be charged when she went to it in the morning. What's new with these then?
How does I was trying to work out from the article what bit of it is the solar panel. I can only assume it's in the screen. Yeah. It's not going to be in the strap, and it's not going to be in the bezel, so it must be part of the screen. Now, one of them's got an OLED panel, which is less efficient for the solar panel, and the other one's got a strange-sounding thing, which I'm assuming is a bit like an LCD, and that's more efficient in terms of the panel. You get longer life out of it. Also, presumably you've got to make sure it's not under your sleeve while you're wearing it. Otherwise, it's not going to charge very well. But it's a great idea, isn't it? And harnessing the power of the sun, which we may come to later on this very podcast, is just such a good idea. Why not? It's free energy. And this, if you watch the video in the linked article here, you can see how clever this watch is as well. All sorts of stuff going on, and lights and buzzers and different coloured lights and blah de blah de blah. It really does look as though it's very well kind of thought out and good for people that are running around. It's got a torch in it as well, so if you're running in the dark, you can shine this torch and see. I can't imagine the battery would last long if you did that all the time. But it looks nice particularly for those active types.
I hadn't clocked that. I see it now in the pictures, but the torch idea I think is really quite cool. The amount of times you just turn on the torch on your phone to look for something that in the shed or something later on at night, if looking for a screwdriver or whatever, just being able to go boop, and it works off your watch for 5 seconds or whatever. But I wouldn't go out running with it hoping that this is going to light your pathway for you whenever it gets too dark. Also, you'd be running like a Wally. But I did like the way that you said that you'd be out harnessing the power of the sun. Mm-hmm. That sounds exceptionally grand. I know I've said that myself, but whenever it comes to a tiny little solar panel that's built into a watch, it's not sort of harnessing it, it's just sort of getting off the benefits.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Garmin are a wee bit flaky whenever it comes to the UK. a lot of their functions don't actually work in the UK, which is a real pain. They make good hardware that doesn't charge very well, but a lot of my wife had constant problems being able to hook this up properly, and she ended up moving away. And there's another girl that I work with who was a marathon runner, or still is a marathon runner. She ran the marathon quite recently, and she has a Garmin as well, and swears by it for its accuracy. But she says she doesn't get most of the smartwatch functions working because it just doesn't work that well in the UK, so it doesn't hook up to our local services.
All right.
So my wife has recently moved from Garmin to Samsung, in which case everything now works for her, which is a pain because she can't translate across her Garmin history to the Samsung Health app. It's all problems, but just start fresh. Yeah. All right, Japan are going to be... Oh, this is proper harnessing the sun's power. Japan will be trying to beam solar power from space in 2025 in a plot that is right out of a James Bond movie. Japan and JAXA are going to be installing, well, hopefully, at the cost of, $10 billion or something like that, or $50 billion, some ridiculous amount, installing a solar panel out in space that captures the sun's energy a wee bit closer, so it'll catch it more so, and then use a special
microwave, I think.
A microwave emitter to fire it down to a receiver on Earth that will not destroy a city whenever Blofeld feels like it, but actually transfer the power. It can generate 1 gigawatt of power. This array, which I think if they had 22 of these would be able to power the DeLorean from Back to the Future.
What happens when it goes round the other side of the Earth then? It says that it can collect the sun's power 24/7. But when it goes, if it's microwaving down to one point on Earth, at some point it's got to go behind the Earth, hasn't it? Unless it goes off to the side somewhere.
It stays there pointed at the sun, and Japan disappears off for a wee while, and there's a power bank inside of it, and it comes back around again, and then it goes a bit like, I think that's the way satellites do it with photography, isn't it? Where they'll take their pictures, and then as the Earth rotates and comes back around again, then people who have those arrays can receive the data from satellites by radio waves.
So it turns off the microwave but keeps it in the panels, and then when Japan comes back round the other side it starts sending it again. Okay, I've got you.
Unless, of course, it malfunctions, in which case it sort of burns in a line across across Syria and Russia and Greenland until it gets back to Japan again. And they're like, oh, whoops.
Apparently a lot of countries have tried this for quite a long time, back decades, and no one's really made it work. And the main reason why no one's made it work is, as you said earlier, the cost. They're talking about, $7 billion. This article says $7 billion to make one thing that's going to be much cheaper to have done on the Earth somewhere using a nuclear reactor. And so, like most things, it's a cost thing, isn't it? And whether or not this ever actually happens remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think over the last couple of years, there was one that I think the British were looking to do before they decided it was too expensive and just open up the coal mines again. That's cheaper. Mm-hmm. That just requires, a crowbar, which I think we should be able to afford. But yeah, there's this, and then I think there was another one where they had a big water array, or that's opened already in the US, the world's largest solar farm on a lake. Opened up in the last 2 weeks, I think.
That's right.
Or it's due to be opened.
Putting solar panels across the oceans.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yes.
If ever I heard one.
Except it's not as good as putting it in space, because the oceans certainly do go into the wrong side of the Earth for the sun. So,
but there's one problem with space, and James Webb was a victim of it almost as soon as they turned it on, and that's space dust. And it pings through there at like billions of miles an hour and cracks the solar panels.
yeah.
So they'd have to have like a conveyor belt or some sort of elevator that goes up so that they can wash the solar panels and fix the solar panels when these happen.
Yes. Or just place a crew up there to maintain it.
Yeah, with squeegees.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Well, moving on to LG in Korea. They have the LG StanbyME, and I swear if I see anyone with one of these whenever they're having a picnic, I will go over and tell them to leave the field that they're in immediately. This is a portable display, a 27-inch portable display that is inside of like a Hitachi type case that allows you to do all sorts of things. They show examples of it having like a fire effect whenever people are sitting outside having a barbecue, or a vinyl player, or kids playing games on it, board games. Ted, tell me this is a joke.
The vinyl bit of it just looks a bit stupid, doesn't it? That you prop it up and it shows a record playing for no reason at all. The bit that I think is the most interesting about this, apart from the ludicrousness of the project to begin with, is the table mode, which is what they're calling it, where they're playing a game on it, and they can actually open it up and interact with each other by playing games on a table. A bit like we used to do in the pub. We played Space Invaders in the table in the pub, you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that could be quite good fun. But yeah, apart from that, I think it is a real product, and they are producing it, and it's going to be out there. But who on earth is going to lug it along with them when they go out anywhere? And we're assuming also that in bright sunlight it's not going to be just glazed out, so you can't see it anyway.
True, yeah.
And it's
yeah. There's one interesting thing that I picked out of it, and that's the fact that it runs WebOS.
Right.
That's one we haven't heard from in a while.
Mm-hmm.
That LG have been putting on their TVs for a good while. So if you've got an LG TV, you know the benefits of the apps that you can get there, I guess. But it's not running Android or anything, so it's not going to be as much of an open market for people to be able to develop for.
It allows the user to beam. Hang on a minute. It allows the user to beam content from an iOS or Android device using AirPlay and screen mirroring. So I suppose you could just do that in the same way as you do with your telly. Just send it across.
Right. So these people are going to go on a picnic with one of these and an iPad.
I think the application for it will be for business people demonstrating stuff. So you go, you're a salesperson, and you go and pitch your product to someone, and you just carry your briefcase with you, open it up, it's self-powered, you can then do your demonstration with a little remote control, and everyone in the room around the conference table can just quickly and easily see your display. And I think that's the application. I'm not sure why LG are showing this on picnics and on dinner party tables. It just seems a bit of not the way it's going to be used, and it's nearly £1,000.
Yeah, it's $885. It doesn't say that it's water resistant in any way, but it did show at the very end of the trailer. I don't know if you noticed, but in behind the product there was like a stand that could stretch up to about 6 foot in height, and you can obviously attach the screen to the stand and be able to have some sort of public display, which is copyright infringement, obviously, if you're going to sit down and watch a movie with more than 6 people, is it?
Don't know.
It doesn't mention speakers, does it?
Yeah,
Dolby,
Dolby, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Dolby 20-watt speakers.
20-watt speakers.
Yeah.
Oh.
It does. I mean, on the face of it, it does look quite nice. I just don't get the whole picnic thing.
No, it's a bit of a weird approach, but they're obviously, maybe they've manufactured this and people aren't buying it for work, and they're going, well, we could just then market it to the family side of things and give them something else to carry to a picnic.
Yeah. Oh well, there you go. If for those with plenty of money, it could be a bit of fun.
Well, keeping at the end, or in the realm of big portable displays, LG Lenovo, sorry, have announced their Tab Extreme, which is now available for purchase in the US. This is a 14.5-inch Android flagship tablet that's all singing, all dancing. It's got an octa-core 3.05 gigahertz MediaTek Dimensity 9000 inside of it, with 12 gigabytes of RAM, a Mali's GPU to support, and it's 12 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, and it takes up to 1 terabyte of micro SD cards. There's a micro SD card in there as well. It runs Android 13.
Whoa!
I wonder how long for? Forever?
No. Hang on a minute. They're promising 3 updates, I think. I'm sure I read that somewhere. They're promising 3 updates and security for 4 years. The same as the Motorola flagship phones now.
Fair enough, okay. It's got a 3000 by 1876 resolution OLED display, which is 500 nits of brightness, which I suppose it would need to be up there because of the size of the screen. No, that's not nits, that's PPI I'm thinking of. 120 hertz refresh rate, Dolby Vision, Gorilla Glass 5, and a bunch of optional accessories that you can put in, keyboards and mounts and that sort of thing. But it's pretty costly. I saw the cost for it earlier, but it doesn't seem to be in this article.
It outspecs the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra, apparently. So it probably is going to be very expensive. Mind you, it hasn't got UFS 4.0 storage, which is something we might come to later. It does look really nice, though, I have to say. I can't find the bit about the 3 years of updates. Have you seen that bit? I'm sure I read that earlier. Anyway.
Well, yeah, they didn't mention it, which I thought was a bit weird.
I'm sure it's in here. I'm going to read it again because I'm sure I didn't dream it. Anyway,
well, saying yeah, it's got a listing on Lenovo's website as well, but it doesn't have a price attached to it. Just says coming soon currently. 60-watt charging adapter, 68-watt charging adapter. It's 100% recycled aluminium body.
8 speakers.
8 JBL speakers at that. And it comes. It's got the Precision Pen 3.
In the box.
It must be.
It
doesn't say.
They're after Samsung here, aren't they? It charges automatically when attached magnetically to the pad or on the upper back of the tablet. This is just so Samsung, isn't it? They've decided that they're going to go after the Ultra. Talking of which, the Tab S9 range is now passing through the final stages before announcement, and that'll be along soon. So hopefully it doesn't outdate my Tab S8 any minute. But they're after the Ultra here, aren't they?
Yeah. There's a speculator price that it's going to be around $1,400. I think that there's only one model of it. I don't see any way that you can customize it to put in extra storage or whatever.
You see
$1,400.
You see the keyboard stand. That looks like it's quite well thought out, doesn't it? Down the bottom there's a keyboard which has got a pretty rubbish looking trackpad, incidentally, but at least it's got a trackpad. But on the back of it, it seems to have a thing that you attach to the back of the. Maybe that attaches magnetically, and then that slots into the keyboard back, and you can then move it at any angle, or you can use it as a stand independently. That looks quite interesting, yeah.
It is. It's a good-looking tablet, I have to say. And it looks like Lenovo have gone to town on it to try and come up with ingenious and attractive-looking ways of interacting with it. But no, I think it's going to be expensive. I can't imagine too many people looking to buy it because it is so damn big.
Yeah, I suppose it's the same crowd that might buy the Tab Ultra. They probably. I don't suppose Samsung have sold huge numbers of those, but enough to continue producing them.
Yes.
But yeah, it looks really nice. I still can't find. I must have dreamt it about the 3 years.
Well, hopefully that's just Lenovo applying that to all of their products to try and retain some of their customers.
Fingers crossed.
You can't
Yes.
spend $1,400 or thereabouts on something like this and then be done with. You can get nothing again for it.
Yeah.
But, stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
All right, Ted, I noticed that in an NHS data breach that you have a serious case of the cullywobbles.
Yeah. This is apparently just up your street. Any chance to slag off Facebook? NHS apparently. I'm hoping that I've kind of understood what's gone on here. The NHS trusts, of which 20 of them have been naughty, have been sharing patient information with a
Metapixel.
Yeah, a Metapixel, which is a kind of scraping data kind of device, piece of software, in order to sell off to the highest bidder, presumably, which is baked into the costings of keeping the NHS trusts going, I suppose, and making money so that it doesn't cane the UK government too much, keeping them going. And then they're basically selling this information off to the highest bidder. In this case, they're saying that it's Facebook, but I mean, who knows who it could be? The implications of this, I mean, they've obviously claimed to have shut this down. Since this article hit The Guardian, they've all claimed to say, oh no, it was all a big mistake, we've shut it down now and it's not happening anymore. But all that information's already out there. And Facebook are not going to give it up readily.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I say, I don't think that I probably understand it fully. Perhaps you do more.
Well, what I took away from it was that it was an interaction through a calendar service that the NHS were using, and the Observer have investigated and found several instances where information has been transmitted through the calendar to Metapixel, or using Metapixel to Facebook, about people's conditions, and there's enough information for you to be able to identify the Facebook user ID.
Right.
So whether I don't know whether or not NHS reach out to people via Facebook or whatever. Obviously, it's different in different areas, and the NHS trusts here, it was 17 of 20 of them. Might be an English-based one which could operate in a different way, and they're utilising some service provided by Facebook to be able to keep in touch with people. But the calendar entries have contained a bit too much in the way of information, and that's gone back through Metapixel to Facebook and Meta themselves.
So it's a calendar thing then?
I believe so. I got that from somewhere in this article.
That's that's interesting, because I noticed that recently my mother, who does online Sainsbury's shopping, gave permission to Sainsbury's to put the appointments of the deliveries into her Google Calendar, and when you drill down into that, she's given permission to Sainsbury's to do whatever they want to with her calendar. They can delete all of her entries in the calendar. They can make entries. They can basically do whatever they like as soon as you give permission. It seems to now. Hopefully, that's something that in Android and Chrome and other systems that they're looking to fix. But at the moment, that seems to be what it was saying. Give us the access to your calendar so we can put this thing in. But trust us that we're not going to rip all your other information out from your calendar. And this could be exactly what's been going on here with Facebook, because if it as you say, it's hooked up with calendaring.
Yeah, calendars are something that I feel are a wee bit wacky at the moment. My wife had an appointment the other day, and my mum phoned me and said, my iPad is telling me I have an appointment on Friday. And I said, no, that's Leanna's got an appointment. But for some reason, she hadn't put it into her personal calendar. She'd put it into her family calendar, the family calendar that we have. And I can't work out how she's done that. But just using her on her phone, she threw it into the calendar on her phone, and for some reason that's set up to default to the family calendar as opposed to her personal calendar, which I've gone in, had a play with, and can't work out how it's gone to the family calendar instead of her personal calendar, because it's the one I think
probably because, apart from the error, that she's given permission to the organisation to do what they like with the calendar, and that's the scary bit, I think. We kind of trust that they're not going to abuse it, you know, a company like Sainsbury's or the NHS. But as it turns out, it seems that they are, and they have been doing.
I wonder if it could be that way around, where, you know, because they're both Mrs. Miles.
Yeah, and they got the same address. No,
they don't.
Right,
no.
Okay. Very scary.
But yeah. Well, how is your scorching case of the collywobbles coming along?
Yeah, the sexual history, gender reassignments. There was all sorts of leaked data in there that people's, you know, was being leaked out to where they shouldn't be. Anyway, yes, let's hope they close the loopholes up.
Yeah, and this is the last sort of thing that the NHS really needs to have to deal with. They whenever they bring something like this in, it's really just to either reduce costs, and instead they're having to investigate problems. So the likes of Facebook and Meta need to get this kind of thing sorted out, nipped in the bud, before causing the NHS any more problems. We need to protect the NHS in that way, that it's not getting shat upon, to be honest.
Well, moving on. It makes you wonder about, just my final word on the matter, it makes you wonder about the financial backing, the background of it, though, is that have these NHS trusts actually done deals with people about selling data out, or is it genuinely a mistake? If it's the former, then that's a bit worrying, that, you know, in order to prop themselves up, the NHS trusts are generating ways to make money by selling data out. The whole thing.
No, I'd say this is a genuine mistake, because, you know, as soon as it's noticed, it's clamped down on. They've attempted to sort it out, and they've come clean. If anything, this looks like it's Facebook's mistake, not the NHS. The NHS has trusted Facebook to do this, and, you know, it comes back negatively against the NHS, because, well, the NHS does have old technology whenever it comes to their administration systems.
But they're giving too much permission out, aren't they?
They are, but they can't be expected to know all this. You'd like to think that the technical experts that are coming in to help them with their issues will have the know-how of how to do this safely and securely. Yeah. The NHS is there to cure your case of collywobbles, not to have to work out how to safely implement iOS calendars into their administration system.
Yeah. Point taken.
So, boo to Mark Zuckerberg again. I'll not use that word.
You almost said it.
You naughty boy, you. Right, going ahead with blood pressure monitoring, because it's a big thing. People are a lot more stressed these days, and your blood pressure could be up and not realising it. But you can now get a super low-cost smartphone attachment that can monitor your blood pressure for you. Ted, have you done this?
It's a bit of... I think that the news here is that if they get it out into production, they're saying that these can be produced, these little gadgets, for 10 cents each. It's just basically a bit of plastic. And one side you put your thumb, and the other side you put your finger, and there's a smart piece of software that goes onto your phone. You clamp your finger and thumb around the area on the screen that needs monitoring. The app goes off and talks to your NHS trust, and hopefully not selling it to Facebook. And the medics can monitor people's blood pressure from wherever they are in the world. You know, the usual thing, interconnected world, anything goes. And the big news here is that they've made this really, really cheap, and they can do monitoring of people's conditions quickly and easily, and not clogging people up in waiting rooms waiting to see doctors and nurses, in order to just quickly and simply do a BP test or anything else. I think that this is actually a really good use of technology, and a great way in which you can monitor the mass. If I felt as though I had some sort of thing going on with my health, and I could just quickly open up an app and dial up the doctors and put my finger on it and say, can you just check my BP for me and see if it's all right, or are there any signs? And someone goes and deals with that in 5 minutes later and say, yeah, I think we need to see you, fat salmon. Come into the surgery. Or they say, no, it looks fine. And then you're on your way. And the implications also for developing economies, where they're 10 cents each. I think this looks good, don't you?
I do, but I do have a funny feeling that 10 cents each is going to balloon to, it'll cost you $49.99 to buy this out of Argos, and then it'll cost you maybe $9.99 a month for the subscription plan, so that you avoid adverts. The free version will be available for anyone who is on low to benefits, but they will have to see an ad ticker taping across it, and their personal information will be sold to Mark Zuckerberg for him to enjoy. And
what? You cynical?
Well, I was less cynical about the NHS, but this could be good. I know that a lot of people do have blood pressure issues right now, with the cost of living and things like that. People are very stressed about how they're going to make it to next month, let alone the next couple of years. Pay's going down and responsibilities going up, so people are getting stressed.
Electricity's going
could
up.
Help.
But petrol's going down. Live in your car.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Oh, God, it is hot in here, actually.
Is it?
It's getting warm.
But pop out for an ice cream.
No, I'm dehydrating. Oh, do you have ice creams, actually?
Nice.
Yeah. Bought loads yesterday. Right, moving on to a small Irish town down in County Wicklow. I don't know, I'm putting it on some sort of Yorkshire accent here, but yes. Down in Greystones, County Wicklow, a St Patrick's primary school is saying no to mobile phones, which it's a primary school, obviously, so kids that age shouldn't have mobile phones, and I don't think they generally do, but they're taking a what's the word, en masse type approach to not letting their kids have smartphones at that age.
Oh, hang on a minute.
And it's spearheaded.
Is the primary label different in Ireland to other places? Because they're quoting 11-year-old kids and 10-year-olds. Oh no, there's a 12-year-old kid as well, who are part of this scheme. So
that's right. Yeah, the mainland has weird aging, as opposed to us over here. We've got normal ones. Okay. Primary school is up until 11, and then secondary school or grammar school is 12 and above, kind of.
So it's up to 11 then.
And we don't have things called middle schools or any of that kind of silliness. But this seems to be spearheaded by the head of St Patrick's primary school, Rachel Harper, who is putting out that's pretty much an out-and-out ban for phones for under 11-year-olds. I as part of my Virgin deal, I got a cheap SIM, and we put it into an old phone and gave it to my son so that whenever he goes somewhere and he's not with us, he can stay in touch with us. But he has absolutely no interest in that phone. It sits there out of charge on his desk, and he only really charges it up whenever his tablet is dead and he's got nothing to play, or he doesn't have a game to play or whatever. So, yeah, it's a weird one.
How is his tablet connected when he's out and about?
It's not. He just uses tablet and Wi-Fi in the
Oh, I
house.
see.
He's not so much looking for tech whenever he's out and about, and he's not looking for phones. I think it's more whenever they get to the secondary school and big school. At the age of 12, that's whenever the pressure comes in, because if one kid has it, other kids, need to have it too.
Is your son?
They have to have the
Is
best
your
one.
son addicted to TikTok?
No, he doesn't have TikTok.
Right. How old is he?
I know you are.
How old is he?
He's 10.
So you see, they're quoting in this article the addiction to TikTok, particularly, and I mean, they've handpicked kids for this article to say, yes, we support it. Yes, we support it. And it's not just one school; it's across the whole district of 8 schools, and they've all come. The parents have all got together and said, yes, this is a good idea, and blah blah blah. We're doing this. But I can't see how they can stop it, frankly. If you one of your kids who's 10 years old wants to get onto TikTok, they'll find another way of doing it.
Well, that's very true. And also someone who, say, in a month's time, moves into the village and decides, I'm going to send my child to this school, here's your iPhone because you don't know anyone, you're new to this town,
Yeah.
you can keep in touch with mum and dad, or older siblings or younger siblings, and away you go. And whenever they walk up to the school, it'll be like something out of Mad Max. You can't come in here with that. So, check your phone at the gate, you filthy animal.
Perhaps
More like a Western, I suppose.
perhaps in County Wicklow, nobody moves out or moves in.
Well, County Wicklow's quite a large area. It's a county as opposed to the town, which is Greystones. Maybe nobody moves out, nobody moves in. County Wicklow's where they shot Stephen Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd throw that in there as a bit of trivia for you.
Excellent.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I did actually I looked into Rachel Harper as well to see what kind of headmaster she was, because she's very pretty too, and she does seem to be into all sorts of different schemes and things like that. So I think this might be a headline grabbing headmaster or whatever to try and do things that are pleasing parents.
Right. Fair enough.
Right. France has a law that targets influencers. I didn't read this because I thought it was a load of crap. But Ted, you can take us through it.
Right, okay, so they're trying to bring this law in, talking of TikTok, to control the activity of influencers. And they're going to ban people, in fact threaten them with 2 years in jail and a €300,000 fine for not complying with this. It prohibits the promotion of certain practices such as cosmetic surgery, therapeutic abstention. It sorts out. You're not allowed to push products containing nicotine, gambling, sporting forecasts, money games, all that kind of gambling stuff, restricting to minors. So basically what they're saying is that all this influencer stuff that some people have made a small fortune out of on TikTok and other online social media outlets, France are doing something about it. Now, they've got a problem with the fact that they're in the EU because some other kind of countries in the EU are saying, well, hang on a minute, you've got to pass that through Brussels first. So that's going to come up as something that might kind of ultimately block what they're doing. But this is more of the kind of what's happening in America bit with TikTok and the US states that are blocking the platform completely. Well, they're taking this on a kind of individual basis. The other big question is they might be implementing this whole law, but how policeable is it? And if someone does this, are they going to be able to act on it and stop someone doing it? They're trying to protect their kids. It's a bit like the last story about County Wicklow, and saying we don't want these influencers guiding the activity of our children, getting into bad habits. So it's kind of a linked story, really.
Well, it's a bit of a bizarre one. And I suppose it is something that really does need to come in, and it's it's a bit of a wild west whenever you look at influencers, especially across America, and it's good to see that they are taking it kind of seriously as to who gets targeted and where. But it shouldn't really be up to the government. It should be more for the actual platforms to be regulated in such a way that they can do this in around the world. And it should, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's more towards the idea of having a platform agreement as opposed to per country, because it's never going to work to have it per country, because some countries will allow it and other countries won't allow it, or some countries will be more lax. Which
is exactly what's happening with TikTok in America. Some states are saying ban it and some are not.
Yeah.
The other side of the coin, of course, is that people who have made a living out of influencing, what are they going to do? Go and get a job at Tesco instead? Because actually, for all the people that have made a fortune being influencers, there are also people that are making a bread and butter living out of it. So it's not an easy kind of question to answer. But France have, taken the bull by the horns, and they're just saying, no, we're switching it off, and watch out, if you mess with us, we'll send you to jail.
Yeah. But at the same time, everything changes as you get older. If you went to college and you studied C++, you have to continue to follow programming, because C++ is not going to be a language that you can program in until the day you die. Electronics changes massively. I studied electronics when I was at university, and I couldn't open things up now and repair them because it's way too different. It's just not easy, and I wasn't particularly good at it. So it's one of those things that every aspect of work changes over the course of like 10 years, and you can't expect something to be the same now as it is in 10 years' time.
Indeed.
Especially whenever there's big money being made.
Wise words from Lord Gareth.
From Knob Gareth. Right, okay. Nothing Phone 2 render has arrived. We're going to talk phones.
We'll be in trouble.
Well, tough. This is interesting. Have you covered this on PSC?
No.
Well, don't. Nothing Phone 2 renders show off curved edges and some lightning tweaks.
Mm-hmm.
Or lighting tweaks, I suppose. Lightning tweaks. Sorry, I misread that. We've seen this a few times, and we've talked about it a few times. This is a gimmick, if anything, and I think it's a kind of gimmick that might actually work.
Well, the news for this latest round of headlines is that they're just on the brink of releasing Nothing Phone 2. And I think the best thing that they've done, if these renders are correct, is to round the edges. The thing that I just did not like about the first Nothing Phone was it was just like a giant iPhone. The edges were all squared off, and it was just like an iPhone, and a big iPhone at that. And I had one in here. I reviewed it, and it was just so uncomfortable to hold. They've rounded the edges on this one, and that I think is a brilliant move. Well done, Nothing and Carl, and I hope that you'll get great success with this. The bad news is that they made it even bigger, but they have added some new LEDs on the back, two of which are around the camera island, which wasn't there before, and the one around the Qi charger has been split into different sections. So presumably they're going to bring in more, possibly even different coloured flashing lights on the back for different stuff. So that would be interesting as well. But I think the big news here is the rounded edges for me. Major change. Good move.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing that sells in a phone shop. It's not the kind of thing that sells on Carphone Warehouse's website. Because you're just seeing Nothing Phone, you have to click on it to be able to go in and see all the features that it does, unless you go to Nothing's website, in which case you can see a big demonstration of how gorgeous it'll look with those LEDs going on. But where people are selecting on a website, a boring old website, and they're looking, going, right, okay, I need to have this, and I've got this much to spend each month. Which phone can I get for that? That's the best phone. they will probably just skim past the Nothing phone because it's going to be a wee bit more expensive than the likes of a similar kind of Samsung product, and they'll just know what they're getting. I don't think this is going to sell en masse, but I would love to be able to see, say, the Carphone Warehouse shop, if there are any left. I can't think of where there is one now, but with these in the window or on the display, lighting things up and having fun kind of demonstrations, attracting in the kids, the youth.
Well,
not the 11-year-olds down in Wicklow, but the teenagers.
What's a shop?
A shop?
Yeah, what's a shop?
It's a place of convenience where you'll be able to go and exchange threepenny bits for goods and services.
I'll tell you what would sell me on this phone is if they had a smaller one. I would actually, I'm sure I would buy one, because you get a very pixel-like experience with the software, with their own kind of additions, which is great. Very Motorola-like in that respect. But it's just too big. And they're making it bigger. They're making it, I think the first one was 6.5-inch screen. Now it's gone up to 6.7, is it? The phone's getting... Give us a dinky version as well, please. That's what I said.
Well, there is a solution, and that is just hold it further away.
with a big glove on your hand.
yeah. Fiendish, as you would say.
Anyway, yes, there you go.
Okay. More new exciting news is we've got some Pixel stuff to talk about, because you mentioned Pixel. It's a nice segue, I suppose. First up is the Tensor G3. What can we expect from Tensor G3 system?
I'll leave you to talk about the main parts of the sensor of the camera. But the thing that I was finding out about this week is what the differences are increasing the storage speed up to UFS 4, which is something that Samsung have done quite broadly now, and they're going to pick up on that one. And it turns out that with UFS 4, it can achieve speeds of transfer of data up to 23.2 gigabits per second. Is it gigabytes per second? One of those two. Steve will tell us off for that. And this is twice the speed of UFS 3.1 and quadruple the speed of UFS 2.1. So it's moving up the speed. Well, I notice this particularly when I'm transferring files, through the USB-C port, and you can tell the difference. I think it does work quicker. Now, how many people will make use of that, and what effect that'll have, and what the broader implications of it are, apart from just transferring files, I don't know. But the other change is one that you focused on, I think. Which is the sensor in the camera. Do you understand all that bit?
Well, I figured that it was something worth talking about, because they have changed some of the aspects of it. The main sensor is being upgraded to the GN2, which we all know is not the GN1. This is a 1 and 1.12 inch sensor.
1 over 1.12 inch.
Yeah.
So 1 over 1. So that's just how. What is that in relation to an inch? It's not. It's nearly an inch, isn't it?
It is. It's a wee bit larger than an inch.
Bigger than an inch, is it?
It is by 0.12 of an inch.
I get very confused with all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. At least we're fully informed, and thankfully the listeners aren't turning off right now. This is the only change to the regular model. The Pro is getting the 7A's primary IMX787 for its ultra wide, which we all know is great and lovely and wonderful, and it's better than the IMX786, which was so last year. And it's getting a new TOF sensor, which stands for, as we all know, that's the one. The telephoto lens is remaining unchanged at this time because it's so great. It's going to have a new thermometer on the back of the Pro as well.
We spoke about that, didn't we?
You'll be able to take your own temperature on your forehead, and possibly, can you do it up the bum?
I
suppose there are some people who will try, aren't there?
I do get going back to that thing about the 1/1.12 inch. I do get confused with all that. If it's 1 inch, that's fairly straightforward. But if it was 1/2, then it's half an inch. If it's 1/3, then it's a third of an inch. If it's 1/1.12, then to my mind that still has to be smaller than an inch.
No, that's absolutely right. Yes. No, I hadn't thought about that at all.
Right.
But yes, good point. It's the other way around.
We need Steve to tell us all about that.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm sure he'll send us a claim or something. Hi, Steve. Right, moving on quickly before we embarrass ourselves even more. The Pixel Watch. Some owners are having yet more problems with it, with the back panel falling off without clear use. So I'm guessing, I'd like to think that the clear cause is just heat being applied from both sides. You and your sort of arm type thing that you would, or wrist, I guess, and the actual processor itself, just maybe melting a bit of the glue and it coming off.
I don't know. Is it supposed to come off? I asked my mum about this, and she said no, mine's not come off. But she read the article as well, and she said that it looks like it's coming off when it's being removed from the magnetic charger. So perhaps it's to do with glue and magnets and whatever else, I don't know. And it's not huge. It's not, to be fair, it's not hugely widespread. This article kind of focuses in on some isolated incidents in Reddit, particularly, of people that they picked up with some examples of it. But yeah, it's not good, is it?
No. The Pixel Watch does seem to be just full of issues, a bit like every new Google lump of hardware, and it'll be refined next time, and they'll use better glue.
Yeah.
I had to use glue yesterday. I bore off the head of a screw, and I filled the screw full of glue, and used a very slow but slightly bigger drill bit to pull it out, and I felt really quite good.
Done.
I didn't have to go all the way down to the shed and get the sheared or the bored head screw remover tool that I bought a wee while ago, which is very good because I was being lazy and it was hot outside.
Well done.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know why I told you that, but it was glue related. Right, Israeli startup Sightful is taking on Apple's AR glasses, which I suppose we could have talked about, but we could talk about it, I suppose. With a slightly cheaper...
We don't do Apple.
We do. But it wasn't the most exciting news in the world, was it?
You need to watch MKBHD's YouTube video. I'll put a link in the show notes because he explains his experience with half an hour with these glasses, and he explains what it's doing, and he's carefully kind of researched about the sensors and how they interact with your eyes and blah blah blah, and it's really worth having a look at that for 10 minutes to see what he says about it. And then when you're fed up with that, you can watch some gadget guy who's being really sceptical about the whole thing, saying there's nothing new here. We did talk about this on PSC last night, so we won't go into it too much. But yeah, it certainly looks interesting, but price-wise, just stupid. Presumably this Israeli thing you come across changes that, does it?
It does indeed, and it's been a while since I had a look at the article. In fact, this article that I'm looking at isn't the one that I originally read. But it's a Sightful Spacetop. This is like a laptop combination where you have a keyboard that projects, or it's got augmented reality sensors that work with the glasses, and it allows you to have like a laptop screen in front of you with a keyboard and trackpad beneath you. So it's somewhat like what Apple is announcing, but it is more built with hardware to interact with it in a more standard kind of
That's what
setup.
that's what the video with Mr. Brownlee is showing very clearly when he demonstrates how you do a mouse click, and you put your fingers just anywhere in front of you, and you just bring your finger and thumb together, and that's a mouse click.
Yeah.
And you look, it tracks your eyes as to where you're looking on the virtual screen. It's just really, really clever what Apple have done, I think. Laying aside everyone saying, oh yeah, well, this was all done 7 years ago, and this Israeli startup will do it just as well. But actually, I think they probably won't.
Well, I don't know. I think there's going to be two types of people: the ones who actually want to take this to the next level and want to use something like this, and to go for Apple's version is going to be a big step, which requires learning how to interact with your computer in a different way. Whereas this one is more akin to using stuff that is already accepted as an input method with a keyboard and a trackpad, and then using the idea of having the AR glasses as a big screen in front of you without having a big screen in front of you.
Yep.
So it may be more palatable for a business to be able to get their employees to utilize it and be more productive, as opposed to having to send them on a course on how to interact with this world around them. Because I've watched some of the Apple AR ones, and I thought that looks ridiculously complicated. There's the kid with the football or something like that, and kicks it in, and he picks it up and interacts with his child. And I was, that kind of thing, I think is going to be harder to do. Where they're saying that obviously it's sensible enough to be able to tell the difference between you doing something that you would normally do, like drinking a coffee, and that's not going to interact with the movements of your arms and hands.
Right.
Whereas this one can completely disregard that, and it'll just accept the keyboard and mouse and give you the big screen that you really do want.
And you can put the glasses in your pocket. One of the big things about the Apple thing is that it's just hideously ugly, not ugly in design, but to have that strapped to your face. And they showed this this video during the demonstration of this dad interacting with his family, and he's got this hideous thing on his head. And he's not just... He's clearly removed from whatever is going on with this family. They're trying to say, well, this makes it better because it's all 3D and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. I just think that the whole thing is not kind of very consumer-based. I think what most people are saying really is that this is all very, very clever and all the rest of it, but this is a commercial business-type application thing or gaming thing, not out there for everyday use. And Google came unstuck with Google Glass trying to do that, and I think that Apple will, if they try to put it out to Joe Public, they're going to go the same way, don't you?
I do. There's no clear way that AR and VR glasses are going to be able to implement into our world just yet, until someone sets the precedent. Not the president, the precedent. And I think that there's all to play for at the moment, but they're going to be a costly mistake for people to buy into. Apple's is what, $3,500, and it could be the next Apple Newton, which is they released it for a while and it didn't quite catch on because it's too damn expensive. Who's going to buy one of these for all the members of their family? This one is $2,000, so it's more akin to what a business might actually give some of their employees to be productive on the go, and it's not quite as intrusive. It's more like a pair of shades that you're wearing, although there is a wire that connects to the keyboard and mouse thing at the moment. You know what's going to happen, or if there's going to be a version 2 if this was to take off. So I think there's all to play for at the moment, and this is just it's an emerging environment that hasn't been successful in the past, because they just haven't got it quite right. And I don't reckon that we've got it quite right yet either. Apple have put 1 million cameras into theirs, which is obviously driving up the price. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just been emerging for an awful long time, hasn't it? I can remember playing with the Samsung VR headset a decade ago, and everyone was wowing about it. And then when they'd wowed about it for 5 minutes, we all put it away again because nobody really had a real world use for it, and it was intrusive. Anyway, there you go.
I still have mine sitting in a desk drawer beside me. I don't actually have a phone to be able to put in it. I wish I did. Maybe I should go and get one. Get a S10e or something like that. Anyway, right, next up is In the Name of the Game. Ted,
games.
You've been playing with Google Play
Games. I was invited by Google. They sent me an email to download and install Google Play Games, brackets, beta, close brackets, for my desktop Windows 10 PC this week. So I did. I downloaded it. We spoke about this on the show, the last show, where you saw some hooks into this, I think.
Yeah, because I got the same invite, and it turned out I'd already downloaded and installed it. And I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised, really, because I went and downloaded like half a dozen games, and it's just a dreadful experience. All the games that I downloaded, you couldn't buy any games that I could see. You had to just get the games with adverts and in-app purchases and blah, blah, blah. And they were just littered with adverts. The games I tried to play... it forces you to stop and watch videos all the time. Now, it could be that I've just chosen all the wrong games, fair enough. But they're just plugging adverts for downloading other games all the time. It's just so annoying. And I lost interest in using it really, really quickly. So until someone tells me that I've chosen all the wrong games, and if you choose these half a dozen games instead, you'll have a good experience on your Windows 10 PC, then I'm not going to bother with it, frankly. Did you get any further with it?
No, I'm putting it up now. It has to run hardware virtualization, but because I subscribe to Google Play Games. I'd like to think that there's going to be a. It's not. It didn't.
I'll look at it after. That virtualization thing. You've got to turn off your computer to. Allow it to take effect. I had to do that. It forced me to shut down and on again.
Bugger. I just turned my computer on this morning. I installed it last week. Anyway, I would like to think that because I subscribe to Google Play Games, there will be an array of games without any form of in-app purchases or adverts that I can play. Otherwise, it's completely dead in the water.
How much is that?
What you describe. That's like $4.99.
Oh right, okay.
But if you've got a kid who likes to play games on their tablet, then it's invaluable. Not constantly having to buy them gems for...
I don't know. I mean, it could be, as I say, it could be, and I'm willing to accept that I just chose all the wrong games. Fair enough.
Well, I'll try and have a play with it during the week, like I said 2 weeks ago, and fail miserably, and then come back to it and apologise.
Yes.
All right. Well...
in the meantime...
Next up, yes. One of the most exciting things that I've seen in a while is Evercade's new announcement that they're going to be doing the Duke Nukem Collection 1 and 2, where they're going to be putting out a good few Duke Nukem games. Duke Nukem Collection 1 has Duke Nukem 1 and 2 remastered, plus Duke Nukem 3D, which is one of the greatest games ever created. The other collection is going to have the lesser PlayStation titles, Time to Kill and Land of Babes, and then the disastrous Duke Nukem Advance on the Game Boy Advance, which is a pixelated mess, if you ask me. But to celebrate this, and it's now sold out, but they're doing the Evercade Vs Atomic Edition, which is £120, and you could get it off Funstock, but it was limited to 2,000 units, and they've all sold out. Wow. So either that's scalpers or that kind of thing, picking them all up to chuck onto eBay later, whenever it's released, and people start looking for it.
November 23 that's been released. Blimey.
Yeah. I was tempted, but I still have my Founders Edition, so it was a bit silly to have two of them.
Isn't that just a skin though? Or maybe
It
it's
is.
got that. Have you got a white light on the front of yours one? Not like that one.
If it's red light, I think you can change
Oh,
colour
okay.
as well.
It looks like it's just a skin though.
Yes, it is. But I think they're going to be doing this quite frequently and flavour it, to sell more units, because Evercade seems to be doing very well, and they're constantly throwing out new titles and new collections. So this one is another welcome one. And they're up. This is box number 33 and 34 of the traditional Evercade lineup. Yeah,
That's quite impressive.
you still have yours, yeah?
I don't have the TV one. I've just got the handheld. So,
Are you going to get this?
well, this is what I was saying earlier about the Nintendo. I think I'm more likely to use the Nintendo Switch. But on the other hand, this TV. The version of Evercade is awfully cheap, frightfully cheaper. But the games that are on Evercade, although they hugely appeal to you, don't mean as much to me as the Nintendo ones do. Anyway, I don't know. The answer to your question is I don't know.
Okay, well that sounds standard for the tech addicts. Don't know.
Right, stop. Can you just stop there, because I need to go and replenish my... fuck, my knee hurts. It's getting really hot in here, and I'm going to go and get my cloak of water and replenish it. I'll keep on recording though, hold on.
Okay. See, folks, this is what I have to put up with. I might not edit this out, just to let you know. Ted goes away, and he's got this ridiculous Udi type thing that's made out of towel material, and he puts it into a basin of water and fills it full of water, so that it's cold water that he's putting on himself. And eventually it'll dry out, but he'll wear it for a while, and it'll be like a wet towel around his head, neck, shoulders and abdomen, and it keeps him cooler during the day. But he does sit there like a slightly wet monk, which I think is kind of humorous to think of him. Hopefully he's wearing other clothes. That would be terrible to think that he's not. But it's his fashion. From time to time, people do call at his door and have to witness him dressed like some kind of monk, a weird sacrilegious or sacrificing style monk. Here he's back, and we'll pretend to start the recording.
Probably broken. Probably can't hear what you're saying now. Right, back now.
Excellent. Are you replenished?
Yeah, my cloak of water is now cool again.
Excellent.
I love my cloak, it's great.
Okay. It's a little squelchy and squishy.
Yeah, and it when you make it wet and just put it round you, it just makes you so much cooler. I've put it on whatever works numerous times. It's just such a good scheme when it's hot.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll just gracefully descend back into the show.
Okay then.
And after a 3, 2, 1, we'll do a flap your trap about nap. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, I don't know. 1, 2, 3. Do you want to count to 5? Do you have any preference?
No, I carried on recording. This is still recording. Is that all right? Yeah.
Good news.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'll chop it
Okay.
out. Winky, folks. Okay, so Windows 11 New Look. Do tell us about that. The New Look File Explorer, the bloody thing that keeps crashing on Windows.
Does it? Does
Yes.
it keep crashing for you? One of the things that was quite interesting about the New Look File Explorer, except that I haven't actually seen it yet, on my Windows 11 laptop, I keep looking for it, and I get the colourful icons, but I don't get those placeholders at the top, like you get on Google Drive, for example. And they look very pretty. I'd quite like to see those. But the interesting thing for me here was that they're going to add RGB lighting into the core of Windows 11. And so it felt a bit like, Android, Google nicking stuff from Samsung, or in this case, nicking stuff from the likes of Logitech and Razer, and Microsoft has said, oh yeah, let's bake in RGB. So they're going to put in dynamic lighting into the personalization stuff. So with a bunch of partners they're working with, which is quite limited at the moment, they're going to make sure that any hardware you've got, the list at the moment is Acer, Asus, HP, Razer, Logitech, but they're going to try and add more to it. So if you've got hardware that's supported by that, RGB lighting will work across a range of hardware directly out of the box in core Windows 11. So that was the interesting bit about this article for me.
You see, each of those companies does have some sort of client, or they are compatible with other clients out there that control it, and the people who have RGB built into their computers are probably already using something like iQ or one of those applications. Does Microsoft not have anything better to be doing in fixing Windows 11 than worrying about your RGB? As that appeals to a very, probably say 50% of the users out there. Fixing File Manager so that it doesn't bloody well crash anytime you open up a couple of different instances with lots of files. You've got enough RAM to be able to handle it. Would be preferable.
Oh, right, I haven't seen that. I have, but then, as I say, I haven't got those picture placeholders. Do you see those placeholders?
No, I don't. I'm anticipating another version of Explorer that'll hopefully get rid of whatever bug I have going on at the moment. Because I can't get around it myself. Windows Explorer crashes all the damn time.
I do like the way that Windows 11 has been thought out, though, generally. You might complain about bits of bugs and stuff, but we installed it onto my dad's PC last week because it kept bleating, and I said, well, I'll put 11 on if you like. And he really liked the look of it. I mean, he's in his 80s, but he... the reason I say that is because he doesn't like change particularly, but actually he really liked it. He liked the whole look of it and the feel of it and the way in which the icons have been done and changed, and I was really surprised. I said to him yesterday, how are you getting on with Windows 11? He said, oh yeah, it's really nice.
Okay.
So, anyway, I do accept that you've got bugs and there's ironing out to do.
Yes, there's lots of it. Hopefully the Windows 12 will come along fairly soon. Right, Android apps in Windows 11 have access to local files and folder sharing.
What could go wrong?
Tell us about that. Yeah.
Right, okay. As I understand this, it's good. This is all a bit like the sandboxing of files. So where you've got the Windows subsystem for Android going on and installable on Windows 11, the way in which developers were able to use files on the computer up to now, they had to be inside the user file path of the Android app in question. What this change is going to do is that it's going to be opening up, as I understand it, to enable developers to use files from elsewhere on the computer within a controlled environment. So back to the sandboxing to some degree. Now, I don't pretend to understand this fully. I'm not a programmer, and I may have got it wrong, but that's how it looks to me. Obviously, if I'm right, then the downside of this is obviously that there's a security issue, and if app developers for Android apps are able to access files anywhere on a person's computer, then who's to say what will happen with that in terms of permissions and where developers are allowed to go and scoop up whatever they like from the user's computer. There's a sense in which it was better as it was, where they weren't able to do that, and they kept it sandboxed, very much like Apple do in some ways with their iOS system and so forth. Not that I know much about that either. Why did you give me this one to talk about?
Well, because I wanted to see whether or not you were thinking about it the same way that I was. Because I had, take the example of maybe a gallery app or a movie playing app, that lists your media, and then you'd be able to show it an external hard drive or some sort of other hard drive that has all the media listed on it. So perhaps, I know that in the past we've had problems with Chrome and Android tablets and things like that not being able to access SD cards, and apps having to be written in a specific way, especially on Pixel tablets and things which don't use SD cards. You have to allow it access to particular folders, and I think that is what this is aiming for. It was always a problem. I would use Plex on my Chromebook, and then having maybe 128 gigabytes of storage on the Chromebook, or 256, and most of that's being used up where you're storing your media and Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus or something like that. You want to be able to push that over to the SD card to have it there. Not the Chromebook for a long time was not able to do that effectively, and it's only quite recently that we've been able to access the SD card on it. So I'm wondering if that's the same thing with Windows 11, where you can show it another hard drive or another folder that has all your media.
Right. Okay.
In a long way of putting it this way.
Obviously, neither of us know anything about this story.
Well, I think the listeners would be shocked if they did. Microsoft is willing to sacrifice Teams in Windows 11. Woohoo!
Yeah,
it's obviously not working.
The bloke that wrote this was delighted. From Tech Radar, he said, "I'm okay with that." Apparently, the EU are about to force Microsoft into removing Teams from Windows 11 as part of some EU fining thing, because basically people don't want it in Windows 11. And I must admit, I mean, you and I played around with Teams, didn't we? We were going to try and use it instead of Skype, and we soon stopped using it because it was just so clunky and crap. But it's baked into Windows 11, and that's what the EU is unhappy about, not giving the users choice, and the usual kind of monopoly thing, and Microsoft doing whatever they fancy. Anyway, so they're going to take this away, and because the author of this piece that we're linking to can't stand it anyway, it was always aimed at businesses, like a lot of stuff with Microsoft, and it's been pushed out to consumers and just ended up bloating out Windows 11 for no reason at all, when actually no one's using it because they're all using other clients anyway. And it just seems like a complete waste. So they're all quite pleased that the EU have swooped in and made Microsoft remove it from Windows 11.
I think that's fine. If you want to go and get it, you can download it and install it yourself. It makes little sense having it one of those default things that slows down the operating system in the long run. And you end up accidentally tapping it whenever you're looking to click on something else by accident.
Yeah.
Oh, well, just put Minesweeper back in. That's what we need, Minesweeper. Right. Instagram is looking to open up, I think it's called Thread, which is a Twitter rival. Given that Twitter, since Elon Musk has taken it over, has seen nothing but problems and mass migration away from it, the Instagram and Facebook and your old chum Zuckerberg are taking the opportunity to try to capitalise on that and bring out a new product baked into Instagram that resembles Twitter. It's a good, decent idea, I suppose. It's good. There's never been a better time for them to do it. Ted, do you think you're going to give this a go?
Well, the interesting thing for me here is that they're claiming that it's going to be... I mean, you say it's baked into Instagram, but I think that they're trying to claim that it's not, that it's a standalone, decentralised social network, which is being likened to Mastodon, rather than something that is another meta product. So I'm not quite sure how they are claiming to be able to do that, if it's in some way coded in with the basis of Instagram, or how related to Instagram it is anyway. It's called Project 92, and as you say, it might end up being called Threads. But I think that it's if it is more like Mastodon and decentralized, then I think it's a great idea. If somebody big in the world like Meta can grab hold of this and get people on board with it, it'll be a good rival for Twitter and might actually make Twitter behave a bit more sensibly. But yes, apparently the coding has begun on this one. It'll be very interesting to see where it ends up, or if it gets if they do a Google on it and sunset it before it starts.
Yeah, whoever designed the name for it should really think again, because Threads just conjures up imagery of the 1984 movie, and that's the last thing we need.
Yeah.
Scary biscuits.
Yeah. I've tried to use Mastodon, but I just find it all a bit kind of yes and no. I think if there was something else, and I didn't feel as though I was selling my soul to the Meta group, then I think I might be in for it. But what I don't want is for all my data to be harvested off to Instagram and to Facebook and to WhatsApp and all the other places I don't want to be. I want to be standalone in a decentralized setting. So yes.
Okay, I quite like Mastodon, to be honest. I'm starting to scroll through it a wee bit more often than I used to. I find it quite interesting.
It's just a bit complicated. It's for nerds and not for Joe Public.
I do find that things go further on Mastodon. You get ignored on Twitter, and Mastodon people are like, oh, whenever you post something. So you do get a bit more interactivity and get chatting a bit.
And
more.
Also, Reddit's in trouble this week. Did you see that? Did you see that story?
I did, yeah. I didn't want to cover it too much because other than any Reddit user is going to know what's going on there, and telling people who aren't Reddit users isn't really going to help them in any way. So don't worry, Reddit will sort that out itself, and they know what's right and they know what's wrong.
We won't cover it then.
No, but we will go to the Google gallows and see what the Chrome coroner has done.
YouTube. Oh, you need to test this for me live on the show to see if you can see it. YouTube Music is starting to show play counts for popular songs. Just a little change. So if you go to YouTube Music on an Android device and then go to look at the Explore tab and then look at top songs and just see if you see the
top songs.
See if you see the play counts, because I don't see them. So I'm guessing it's an America-only thing at the moment. Do you see that?
Yeah. No, I don't see
Right, moving on then. Google Wallet's newest update gives more reasons to leave your pocketbook at home. And again, I can't see this working. I tried this morning to add some stuff to it. Now, the idea here is that instead of Google Wallet being kind of locked down into very centralised paths of library tickets and loyalty cards and blah, 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 basically they're opening it up so that you can tap on the plus button, and as long as your card or service or whatever it is has got a QR code or a barcode, you can add it into Google Wallet, which is a great idea. I've got a bunch of cards in my wallet I could easily put into there, but nothing is working for me at the moment. Have you got any of that working?
I got 2 on, but they were like reward cards, and they were exceptionally easy to actually. One of them was through the app of the BP reward card. It just added itself in very easily. So the easier the better. They're
talking about things like particularly travel cards and gym membership cards, things that are not in the kind of the 4 categories that are the basis of how well it works. And anything goes, it seems. If you've got, as long as you've got a QR code or a barcode, you can get it in there. Next story and last story, no it's not, second to last story, is that Google wants to make the switch to its password manager painless, and this is talking about Chrome on computers emulating what it does with the password manager on Chrome in Android. And that is that a couple of months ago, they introduced the password manager shortcut for desktop. For your home screen in Android, and it gives you a place where you can manage all your passwords and all the rest of it. They are trying to put this into Chrome on the desktop. Now, I checked this morning, and I don't have it there. What version of Chrome am I running? 1.14 on my desktop. So it might be coming with 1.15, I guess. And then you'll be able to add a shortcut to your password manager on anywhere you like in Windows, and get to it quickly. And they're also making it quicker to work on some websites, which you can browse, which you can do already on Android, but they're making it all Windows friendly.
Very nice.
Lastly, I just wanted to ask you if you'd noticed this new, although I'm not sure how new it is actually, performance mode in Chrome. As I say, I'm running Chrome 1.14, and when I go to settings, more tools, three dots and then more tools, I see a performance manager, and if you go into there, it allows you to manually control or auto control a memory saver function, which kills data in the tabs that are inactive. We spoke about this a while ago, I think, but I hadn't seen it actually working. And I turned mine on to just do it automatically, not to add things manually. And I've noticed zero difference since I turned it on in the last couple of days. So I guess that it should be more streamlined and is making Chrome in Windows work more sleekly. Do you see that?
Yes, I do. I've got my Chromebook here, actually. I just remembered when I turned around. But mine was turned on by default.
That's in a Chromebook, though. What about in Windows?
Oh, right, okay. I will have a
So
look
Chrome
now.
in Windows, three dots, more tools, performance.
No, it's turned off.
Right. So if you want to turn that on, which is what I did, as I say, I really didn't notice any difference at all in my use of Chrome. So I decided to leave it switched on.
Fair dues. That'll be kind of cool. Yeah. I'll keep it on and see what goes, because Chrome can be a bit of a memory hound. So anything that eliminates that possibility will be great.
Okay. Well, that was my Chrome little roundup for this time.
Grand. Good stuff. There's a few things we can turn on there. All folks. I'm not particularly enamoured by the YouTube music thing. I don't think I've ever clicked on the Explore tab before.
Right.
But yeah,
we're not seeing it anyway. I think a lot of these things get rolled out in America. We'll probably get it in 3 months.
Yeah, why not? Right, coming up next is Harkback, where Ted, you were scrabbling around for something to go with, and you came up with a blinder that I'd totally forgotten about. And it's not something that I can talk about at length because I don't have much experience of it, because I was quite young when the implementation of it we had was there, and it was my first usage of it. But I'll let you introduce it, and I'll join in.
I think I was hoping you'd take the lead more than that, because I kind of remember it. It's called GEM, G-E-M, a graphics environment manager, and it's a replacement desktop environment in the day. Like, I'm guessing, where have we got a date on this? 1985. So I had an IBM XT something or other, I think. And it was had floppy, the big clunky one with the 2 floppy disks in the front, the 5 1/4 and the 3 1/2. And I used to use BBC Basic on it and do some outline programming on it for just writing from some games. We've covered that before, I think. But this replacement environment is called GEM, and it brought some interesting new graphic interfaces to what was going on. So having worked with DOS and having to do everything and kind of code-based way, and knowing the commands to tell DOS to do whatever, you suddenly had this kind of almost like Apple experience, which I guess is one thing it was trying to emulate in the early Apple environment on Macs. to actually give you a user interface. Now, the reason I pricked my ears up with regards to you and bringing it onto the show, hoping you would take over, was because when I read up about it, it said that it was being used across different devices, including the Amstrad stuff, which I know that you've spoken about before with great warmth. But also the Atari ST series, and I thought that you might remember, but you say you're too young to remember, really.
No, I don't know much of the origins or what happened to it that much, but my dad had an Amstrad PC 1640, and this came on it. It had the 20 megabyte hard drive, and it would boot to DOS. And then you type in gem, and it would obviously load this front end. And I remember being dazzled by it. I'd never seen anything like it. Because it had a paint tool that allowed you, a bit like Windows Paint or whatever, to muck about and draw some graphics. It was called Gem Draw Plus. Right. And one of the standard images on it was that of a tiger. And I'm pretty sure it was in black and white. Even though it was kind of like an EGA display that Amstrad my dad had. But at a young age, I remember just graffitiing the tiger and colouring it in silly colours and things like that, and trying to draw my own stuff with this paint tool. And that was the only real reason I had to open up Gem, was to use that paint tool, because the rest of it was all extremely boring, and it had tools and word processors and that sort of thing that my dad quite enjoyed using, or attempted to use. Not that I don't think he was ever very good at using computers, and became frustrated and ended up giving them to my brother and I to play with, because he preferred paper and pencil instead, and secretaries and that sort of thing who did these things for him. But looking at it now, it really is a blast from the past, and it feels very much like, obviously you had Windows and Microsoft's Windows and CP/M and that kind of sort of moving that way, and then Macintosh having their an iteration of this, and this was just yet another attempt, and Sugar saw the opportunity to put that onto his systems as well, and make another colourful desktop environment that was very easy to use and understand. And I must have been, he got that Amstrad in about 1986 or 1987, so I would have been about 10 at the time, and I was able to use it very simply, without having, like we do now, previous experience of using graphical user interfaces. And it made sense to me as to what you were doing. So it was very intuitive and a good-looking piece of software. Yeah,
definitely. I can remember that there was a shop local to us that I used to go down to, and it was basically a shareware shop. And you just go down there and say, can I have a bunch of shareware? And they put it onto a floppy disk for you. You take it home and you start. If you look down at some of the later incarnations of this, like the Open Gem. I seem to remember that very clearly, where you've got all these apps, and that reminded me of that shop where I used to go and just get loads of shareware and install it onto the computer and just go with it. And it took me back to the early days of the middle 80s, when I was just playing about with this stuff. I didn't have my own computer initially. There was one at work, and I used to go in when I wasn't working, when I was off duty, so I could just sit and play with this computer and muck about with it, and abandon my wife at the time. And it was just really, really good fun. Do you remember it turning from mono into colour?
No, it was the colour one we had from the word go. But I'm having a look.
I remember the yellow one. That very top picture on the wiki page, I definitely remember that just yellow and orangey one.
Well, yeah, that might just be the limitation of the hardware itself.
Okay.
On one of them, it shows a screenshot from 1984 where it has the blue background, which is just blue and white dots interspersed. Right. That makes it look blue. It's not actually fully blue, because maybe the memory wouldn't support a full blue background.
Well,
But Gem in 1984 it had a calculator, and it had Gem Write and Gem Paint.
yeah, and a publisher. The desktop writing, I presume that's the right one. There's a drawer, a graph, publisher. I remember using that to create posters at the time. It just takes me back so much to working with individual files and knowing about extensions and knowing about commands and learning about user interfaces coming from DOS. Really, really good days. I so enjoyed that evolution of early computing.
It was, yeah. But I was actually using DOS a wee while ago. I was really struggling to remember most of the commands, because I had DOS 5, DOS 6.5 as well, and I used it all the time, especially on this Amstrad as well. And I would remember all the little things, like you could do dir/W to have it sort of widescreen listing, and then dir/P, which would do sort of page at a time, and all kinds of things. But there were little extra things that were thrown in with different versions of DOS. I remember one called Del Tree, which would allow you to be able to delete an entire tree of folders. But that doesn't actually exist in Windows now. If you go into DOS and try some of those commands, they're not there. And I got to wonder, this is a command prompt that we have, it lacks the features that we kind of took for granted in DOS.
Yeah, I guess that trying to do it on a Windows computer now is essentially using an emulator and not a real, not really DOS as such. But things like I was playing it with the other day. I couldn't get my computer to shut down. Whenever I shut it down, it came back on again. And so I had to write this little batch file, and it was quite interesting doing that, which I did in the terminal. And it reminded me of things like cd ... to go back a directory, and then dir space C to go forward, and : /. It just reminded me of all the old days, and I was very pleased with myself, because I copied what someone else had told me, but I wrote this little batch file in order to shut my computer down. And I thought, those were the days. And I've got on my desktop now a little shortcut which I've called shutdown, and it's got a little batch file going on. It's great. Those were the days.
Yeah. Oh, Windows can be a pain in the ass sometimes whenever it decides, I'm not going to shut down. And you think it's done, you come back to it the next day and it's sitting, and it's maybe just logged out or something like that. And you're like, no, you've been on all night.
Yeah,
There's a cost of living crisis.
But incidentally, the end of that story is that that batch thingy did work for a while, and then it stopped again. So I am actually now back to wondering why it's not working, and I don't get it really. So I've got to try things one by one to try and get to the bottom of it.
Well, you do know that shutdown and restart are two quite different things. Whenever you do a restart, it actually shuts off everything. Shutdown actually does more of a standby type thing, where things will stay open and resident in the background. You have to go in and actually change an option inside Windows to perform a full shutdown. By default, it's only on like a standby.
Is that
setting.
the same as shift? Because if you click on shutdown and hold the shift button down, I think that does probably what you're talking about, which is the more kind of full shutdown. I haven't tried that one yet, but I did read about it.
Could be, but doing a restart might be what you need to do, and then whenever it boots back up again, you'll be able to shut down.
Yeah.
Something's just
that's exactly what happens. If I shut it down, or restart it, then if I shut it down a second time, it closes down properly. It's only that first time it won't do it.
Yeah. So something sinister. Okay, well, what you could do is you could go to Bargain Basement and buy a whole new computer. Why not? That's a great solution. And for your threepenny bits, if you were to have 699 of them, you'd still have change, because they've reduced the price of the Acer Aspire 5 from £699.99 down to £407.61. Wow. And this is the 15.6 laptop that runs an AMD Ryzen 5 5625U. It's got 8 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte of SSD, and a full HD display, Windows 11. And it says iron here, so I don't know if that means that it's made out of iron, or you can use it because it heats up so much you can iron your clothes with it. That's a possibility. But a little digging led me to see that whilst I said there was 8 gigabytes of RAM, the RAM is actually upgradable in this unit, and there's 2 SSD slots. So for someone who's looking to get a wee cheap deal, because actually on Amazon at the moment you can buy it over 24 months as well. Oh wait, hang on a second. No, that's Barclays. Right, never mind. Well, I suppose you could pay it for £19.23 for 24 months. Gets you this.
Wow.
Which is great, and then throw in an extra SSD again in addition to that 1 terabyte SSD. And then you could upgrade the RAM yourself, which shouldn't be too hard, to 16 gigabytes or even 32 gigabytes, and you'll have an all singing, all dancing PC there. That Ryzen 5 is no slouch, and it's got integrated graphics, I believe. So
yeah, it has.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find out if it's Windows 11 Home or Pro, and no one is telling me that. So I'm assuming that it's Windows 11 Home.
It actually has an optional NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2050 if you want to throw that at it, but I don't see how you add that in on Amazon.
Right.
I just noticed it in the specs down there, so maybe there's a different version.
It's a great price, though, isn't it?
It is really tempting.
Yeah. I wish I needed a laptop.
Well, you do, because this will be able to close down.
Yeah. No, I have got my Windows 11 laptop, which is fine. But anyway, yeah. Good bargain. I noticed this week that, talking about Nintendo, which I teased earlier, that they've got a summer sale going on. And I went in there and I was quite amazed at some of the prices of some of the there's 72 pages worth on my Windows computer of deals, and some of them are like 50p and 60p, and I actually went and bought a few of them because they were so cheap, ludicrously cheap. You know, when they first came out they were 25 quid, and now they're 25p. So watch this space, because and this is one of the reasons I reminded myself about wanting to get it onto the telly and wanting a proper Switch. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot of junk in there, and a lot of kiddie stuff and family stuff and all the rest of it, as you do get with Nintendo. But there's also some other stuff in there worth a look if you've got a Nintendo Switch. Anyway, the summer sale Part 1. There's a Wave 2 coming apparently in the middle of June, which is not far away. So watch out for that one too.
I'm just having a look. Some of the titles are pretty good. Inside, which is generally highly thought of game, is down from £17 to £1.69.
Yeah.
And then Limbo is down from £9 to 89p.
I think that's the one I bought, yeah.
Right, okay. Although there is other shit in here as well. Kitten Island is down from £9 to 89p.
Yeah, the whole Nintendo thing, the kind of cute Japanese team thing is all there. And there's a lot of children's stuff, as I say. But yeah, if you fancy a delve through and you've got a Nintendo Switch, then worth a look.
Well, actually, what is the price of Mario? Have they reduced the price
of
a Mario game?
Of course no.
Okay.
That's their bread and butter.
Doom 2 is down from £4 to £1.60. That's not bad. Maybe I'll dust off my son's little Nintendo Switch Lite and have a... No, I won't. I've got too many other handheld devices to play with. Barely touched my Evercade recently. Right, moving on back to Amazon, we have the Logitech MX Keys Mini for Mac, because we do talk about Apple stuff here. This is the minimalist wireless keyboard. It's not the big MX Keys, it's the MX Keys Mini. And it's down in price from £109.99p to £64.98p,
wow,
which is really quite nice. Yeah, there's a couple of different bundles available, but this one's for it solo. And that's the lowest it's been ever.
And it's a
Mac layout.
it's a Mac version. Well, I was trying to work out if you could use it with Windows as well, but I don't think you can.
No, it'll have different function keys and things.
Yeah, but even laying that aside, whether you as long as you know where the Windows key is, whether you could remap it, I don't know. Anyway, the thing that annoys me about these mini-size ones are the cursor keys. I don't know what you think about that, but I've got so used to having nice, big, fat cursor keys that my muscle memory gets really confused for ages when I try and switch back to small cursor keys.
No, I agree. I need my big cursor keys. Being a bit of a gamer as well, they do matter.
Right.
Big time.
Right, Nokia X30 is next. 100 quid off. 399 quid down to 299. The X30 is a really, really good, capable Nokia device. The only thing missing with it is no Qi charging. Apart from that, it's a really, really nice device, and they've got the usual 3 years of updates on it, which is, when was it released? September 21 on Android 12. So it'll get 13, 14, 15, and 4 years from autumn 21 is autumn 25. So there's quite a good long support left on it. 100 quid off, and if you're not bothered about Qi charging, then that's a really nice phone, I think.
Just having a look at the product details here. It says 1 lithium polymer battery required, included.
Yes.
All right. Does it have a or is it built-in battery or is it exchangeable?
No, it's built in. It's just that Amazon pages always say that, don't they? It has got 33 watt charging, which is half decent, I suppose. Not by today's standards, not anywhere near the best, but yeah, it's a good phone. It's a good looking, with an AMOLED screen, a 90 Hz refresh rate screen, 6.43 inches, which makes it not too giantly big. Now you can get a 256 gig version, but this one is the 128 for those that doesn't matter to, because there's no micro SD. We're turning into a phone show again. Stop it.
That's all right. You're selling a bargain to folks and getting them the best phone for the money right now. Well, we'll move on to, it's summer and people are going to be out in their gardens having barbecues and family days out and things like that. So one thing you could rely on is a good bit of sound. And the Anker Soundcore Boost Bluetooth speaker is down in price. And crucially, this is IPX7 waterproof. So if it starts raining in the garden, you don't need to worry about bringing this in. It'll be all right. It's down from £57.99p to £39. And it's got 12 hours of play time. It's USB Type-C. It's got the app, which Anker's app is fantastic for their speakers and headphones. And it's got wireless stereo pairing as well, so you can have two of them in the garden at any one time and get stereo going. What do you think? Do you have one of these, or is it the older one?
No, an older version of it. And once again, I at the risk of having 200 speakers in my possession, I'd love to have one of these. I really would. It just looks great, and the sound coming out of these Anker devices is usually very good. It's got 20 watts. NFC as well is up front and central for pairing, which is really useful. It's something that Sony hang on to these days, and a lot of people just ignore the fact that NFC is for anything other than paying for stuff in shops. But it's really handy, and yeah, that's a really good price, I think, for that kind of spec.
It also has a full-size USB on the side of it as well, so you can charge your phone off of it if this is fully charged and your phone's dying.
Brilliant.
Keep the music blasting.
Lovely little bargain, that is.
Or listening to podcasts like this one, you certainly
Yeah, and talking about listening to things, and talking about Anker, actually this is Soundcore. Was that last one's Anker or Soundcore? Or Soundcore. Anyway, this is the one that has got 10 quid off, so not a huge saving, but to be fair, it's only just come out. This is the Soundcore Motion X600, and it looks really good. I saw a video of Flossie Carter reviewing it, and he was blown away by it, thought it was great. It's got this spatial audio thing going on. I was so tempted to get one of these. I had to really resist. That's the thing I was talking about earlier in the show, about resisting, because I really want one of these, but I just don't need it. This has got IPX7 waterproofing as well. The same kind of 12 hours of playtime, equalizer stuff, the app and all the rest of it. It's got a handle built in. That speaker on the top, I think we spoke about this on the last show, it throws out the sound upwards and it makes it all great sounding. And it's got 50 watts output as well. I really, really want one of these, and I just can't bring myself to do it, because even with 10 quid off, it's 189 quid, and I just don't need it, but I'd love one. Somebody buy me one, please.
That's a lovely looking device, that, actually. And a very sensible speaker to have for the summer.
Yeah. Lovely.
Big and loud, too. All right, next is a 2-for-1 over on Amazon, and the folks on the mainland can get this. Poor little me can't. This is the Enegon, Enegon, 2-pack portable charger, where it's two 10,000 milliamp hour portable chargers for the price of one, they say, and it's down in price from £23 to £16.60p, which is a bargain
for two.
It's good. For two, yes,
that's good, isn't it?
And they're black. You can get a different colour, but that's pushing it up to 40 quid if you want the white ones. I'm quite happy to take a black one and then paint it if I want a different colour. And they have two full-size USBs on the front, USB Type-C on the side for charging, and there's a USB Type-C on the front as well, so you can have 3 devices connected to it at the same time charging, with a max output of 2.4 amps. And they're pretty small. LED notification, or LED indicator to show you how much charge is left. There's 4 little dots to let you know that it's half charged or whatever. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I like the fact that there's 2 of them. That's great. And for that price, they're 8 quid each. Do you see how I worked that out? £8.30 each. It's an absolute bargain, isn't it? Well spotted. Yeah, definitely. Right, my last.
You could, wasn't it last or a couple of years ago? You bought a 2-for-1 deal and then gave one of them as a Christmas present.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a 2-for-1, but it was really, really cheap. And yes, it got given away. That was the point of buying it, which came to fruition. My last one is a SanDisk Extreme 2 terabyte SSD, which I bang on about relentlessly, but I've never seen it this cheap. It's the very same one as I got, so it's not the super duper extreme, super environmentally sealed. It's the slightly lesser one, but it's still got really fast read and write speeds, and it's served me so well since I've had it. Anyway, I think this is the lowest price I've ever seen it. 139 quid. I'm sure I paid 300 quid for mine, so that's like well under half price. And also the 1 terabyte version is 84 quid. So this is the time to buy one of these, I think, because they're just so good. And as I say, I've been glued. I use mine daily. It sits in my wallet, and I move data about on a daily basis with it. Just great. I love it.
It's I've been looking at these. I might bite. Maybe I'll wait till next month, but I might bite with this from a PlayStation 5 to expand the storage on it.
Right.
And be able to have the older games on this, because it's so dinky and it would sit quite nicely behind the PS5 without anyone knowing that it's actually there.
Oh look, they've got a new colour. I've never seen that before. It's called Monterey.
Like Monterey Jack, the cheese.
Oh, right, okay. It's a kind of turquoisey, a dark turquoise colour. That's really cool. I've never seen that before.
It's expensive though. It's £180.
Oh yeah, that's not the bargain one. Yeah.
No, just the old-fashioned black and orange one. Yeah. Nice. How much is the Pro then? That's at the lowest price. It's down from £345 to £200.
Wow. Yeah, if you really need those, if you need to drive over it with a tank, then that's the one to get.
Brilliant.
I expect they sell well in the Ukraine.
True. All right, well, that about brings us to the end. So, if you want to get in touch with us, you can by emailing us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. You can find us on Twitter as well, at techaddictsuk. I'm on Twitter too, at Gareth Miles, GarethMyles. I'm also on Mastodon. There's a link in the show notes to there. And you can find my garethmiles.com for all the latest nonsense that I churn out every once in a while. Ted, where can they find you?
Well done, indeed. We haven't seen a video review from you on YouTube for a good while, so we need to see something new, please.
My unboxing table's missing at the moment.
Yes. When you've got your desk rearranged, we'll see some new stuff, please.
Oh no, the table's actually gone from the room. There's a big area over there that table that I used is not there. It's been repurposed. That's where I'm not.
Oh dear. Okay, tedsalmon.com is me. Links out to all the audio podcasts, the MeWe groups, all the stuff we talk about and do there. So yes, head for tedsalmon.com, and if you want to buy me a coffee, you can do that. It's at paypal.me/tedsalmon. And I don't hang out much on Mastodon, but I think there's a link in the show notes, in case you want to call me out over there. And I'll catch you in a couple of weeks, no doubt.
No problem. All right. We'll speak to you in 2 weeks' time. Take care.
Bye.